Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Dane Donahue, and I'm here with my twin sister, Dr. Denise Ranowski, and we want to welcome you to the 8 Weeks to Wellness program. You know, Dr. Denise and I developed 8 Weeks to Wellness in 2002, and it was a very special time for us because we spent over a year developing what we thought was a wellness program that makes sense. And now it's almost 14 years later, and we are in almost 80 clinics around the country and now starting to expand around the world. And our mission is truly to get you healthy in a natural way. And Dr. Denise, you know, we've been doing this program in our office for quite some time, and we really developed the program for our patients, but it's just very exciting to see it now expand really throughout the world.
Absolutely. So people love pictures. So let's show you a couple testimonials. We'll jump right to that. And we want to show you two of them, two of our patients that have completed 8 Weeks to Wellness. So the first picture that we want to show you is Ken. Ken came to us about 2 years ago and did the program. And the picture that you're looking at truly is a before-after shot. What I love about Ken's story is that Ken recently adopted his grandson, his 9-year-old grandson, and I'm pretty sure that the man on the left-hand side probably wouldn't have made it to that grandson's high school graduation, but I'm very confident the man on the right-hand side will. In fact, when you see him in the next picture, this is Ken over the summer mountain biking and hiking and doing some great fitness activities out in Colorado with his grandson. So very, very exciting before-after shots. Ken's been in the program 2 years now and has lost a total of about 70 pounds, doing fantastic.
And the next picture that you see is a patient who's near and dear to my heart. Her name is Debbie, and when she came to the program, she was on a laundry list of medications. You can see from the picture on the left that she truly was not a healthy person, body, mind, probably, or spirit. And now, if you look at the picture on the right, it's pretty impressive after a year on the program. And you know, the thing that I've noticed with patients like Ken and like Debbie is if they stick to the program, if they learn the system and follow the system, they can continue to get remarkable results, not just in 8 weeks, but beyond. And a matter of fact, we always say 8 weeks is a metaphor. We're trying to develop healthy habits because once you develop the habit, it's easier at that point to sustain the habit, to continue the momentum moving forward. So this is what's possible for you. We want to get you healthy. We want to focus on the fundamental aspects of health. And Dr. Denise, the things that we always teach, it's pretty simple, right? Move better,
Right.
Think better, eat better, sleep better. These are common sense principles, guys, but they're not common practice. And here's where the rub is. Everybody knows what to do. Now, we may tweak it a little bit to teach people strategies of what the perfect nutritional program looks like, or what's the perfect blend of mobility and cardiovascular training and strength training. So even though we know what to do, we should be exercising, we should be doing proper nutrition, we should be doing mind-body therapies. We're going to teach you the strategies that work most effectively so that we can really take advantage of your time and make sure that this program is not something that's stressing you out. So the slide that you're seeing now is that of a gas tank or a fuel gauge. And the reason this is important is in all of our cars we have fuel gauges. As a matter of fact, most of our cars we have the little yellow idiot light that comes up if we ignore the fuel gauge.
Right.
And in fact, in my car, I actually have a message that comes up that asks me if I would like to start searching for surrounding gas stations. So when I've ignored the fuel gauge, I've ignored the yellow light, now the message comes up and pretty soon the car is going to just start driving itself into a gas station. Right. But we call these cues. And the reason this is important is it's important to know when you're about to run out of gas. Right? It's important to know that your oil pressure, your tire pressure is getting low or higher. These are signals that your car isn't functioning properly. And likewise, Dr. Denise, one of the very first things that we're going to do in the program is do something called a wellness score. So explain to everybody what the purpose of the wellness score, maybe some of the things that we measure on the wellness score, and why this is such a critical start to the 8 Weeks to Wellness program.
So we like to say that your physiology doesn't lie. Sometimes people do, but definitely your physiology doesn't. And we don't want to base your health just on how you feel, because we've all known someone that felt really good today, but tomorrow was diagnosed with a terrible disease, or worse yet, had a heart attack. So in each of our offices, in all of the clinics that run 8 Weeks to Wellness, we do something called a wellness score, where we will look at well over a dozen parameters, or what we call biomarkers, that measure your overall health. So we'll look at your body composition, your body fat, We'll look at your blood pressure, waist measurements. We'll do certain postural measurements. We'll take x-rays of you. We'll then send you for blood work, and we'll put all of those things into something we call a wellness score, and then we grade you on your health. People understand grades A through F. In particular, on the wellness score, we look at something called the big three. And if you have the big three, it's now time to wake up and realize that your health is literally teetering towards some disastrous results if you don't start to pay attention right now, all right? So those big three numbers are, number one, your body mass index. Is your body mass index over 30? It's a simple mathematical formula that the doctors will calculate. It's based on your height and weight. But if it's over 30, you are in the obese category, and every possible disease that's associated with poor health, diabetes, stroke, cancer, heart disease, begins to go up rapidly once your body mass index passes 30. The next thing that we look at, one of the big three, is your blood pressure. Either are you on blood pressure medicine or do you have elevated blood pressure? In particular, that lower number, that diastolic number, if that's above 85 or 90, your blood pressure is elevated, and we really need to get that under control naturally. And then the last thing that we look at is your waist measurement. We want to know if you have belly fat. So for women, we call those muffin tops. For men, I call it BOB or a bob. Do you have a belly over your belt? If as a woman, your waist measurement is over 35 inches, and if as a man, if it's over 40 inches, you have too much belly fat. And not only does it affect the size of your clothes or your jeans fitting too tight, it really has a direct impact on your health. So if you have the big three, you are the perfect candidate for 8 Weeks to Wellness.
So once we've identified the problem, Dr. Denise, with the wellness score, well, then the solution becomes self-evident. Right. So what we're trying to do here is develop a multidimensional program that's going to address this wellness score, or more exactly, the problems in your wellness score. So the doctors will identify these critical areas that are out of control or elevated or decreased that are affecting your health, and then we're going to implement the 8 Weeks to Wellness program. So the 8 Weeks to Wellness program, we were very specific when we developed the program that we wanted to address what we call the 3 dimensions of health. And namely, they are physical stresses, mental, emotional stress, which we all have, right? And then biochemical stress, which is the food that we're eating, what we're putting into our mouths, what we're drinking. And so we were very, very specific and deliberate about developing a program that would address all 3 fundamentals, as opposed to a one-dimensional program like an exercise program, or one-dimensional, a nutritional program, or one drug, one drug, or a stress management program. We've taken all of these things and put in together into 8 Weeks to Wellness program. So 8 Weeks to Wellness consists of the foundation of chiropractic care. Then we're going to have a functional nutritional program, which we'll talk about in just a second. Then we're going to have fitness, functional fitness training, and I use the word fun, functional fitness. It's going to be fun, but it's going to be functional. And then we also have our meditation, and meditation is really thinking about what we're thinking about and becoming aware of our thoughts, because our thoughts affect our emotions.
Yes.
And then finally, we're also going to do massage. And Dr. Denise, who doesn't like to get massage? I know there's a couple crazy people out there that don't like it, but most people really, really enjoy massage. And when you put all of these therapies together, the results that we see are much like the results in the pictures that you saw earlier. It's absolutely spectacular. We start to see these changes really quick with 8 Weeks to Wellness. So let's talk about these 5 fundamental therapies and why they're in the program, why we put them together. The first is chiropractic care. Now, it's easy for Dr. Denise and I to understand chiropractic because we're 3rd-generation chiropractors. We have 12 members of our family that are chiropractors, so it's easy for us growing up in a chiropractic family to understand the importance of chiropractic. But for you, maybe chiropractic is new to you. And so we want you to understand why chiropractic is so important to the program. Well, it's based on 2 concepts. First of all, your spinal column protects your spinal cord. And most people don't know that, Dr. Denise. They think chiropractors are back doctors. But the reason we focus on the spine is that it houses the most important system in your body, which is your nervous system. So your brain is communicating with your body through this delicate structure called your brain and your spinal cord. Off of the spinal cord, you have these nerves that pass out through the spine. Well, if the spine is out of its normal position, it puts undue pressure on those delicate nerves or the spinal cord, and it affects the way the brain is communicating with the body, or the way the body is communicating with the brain. So we can put the best food in, the best movements, the best thoughts, but if the body can't comprehend itself, all of that is for naught.
Right.
Okay? The second thing is your spine forms your posture. And I always like to say, Dr. Denise, that posture is the window to the spine. If you look at a person's posture, you can predict what their spine looks like, right? And there's another saying, posture follows movement like a shadow. So if you have poor posture, we know you're going to be compromised in your movement. So you're going to be compromised in a functional training center. So it goes like this. If you had good alignment, you're going to have good posture, not the other way around. You can stand up as straight as you want, but have really horrible alignment in your spine. It's like having crooked teeth. Until you put the braces on, you're not going to correct the alignment. So what we're going for with chiropractic care is a couple things. We're going for great alignment, and great alignment is going to allow for great posture. Great posture is then going to allow for good movement. And when the spine is moving properly, those 53 joints, that dynamic structure, it stimulates that nervous system so it can do its job and really tell the body what it needs. Because the nervous system helps the body adapt to its environment. So we want to make sure that that's functioning properly. In this slide here, what you're seeing is something we call anterior head syndrome. So as the head starts to slide forward, what I call old person posture, and nobody wants a big hump in their back unless you want to live in a bell tower someday, but a lot of people start to develop that hump because we sit too much. We have that forward head posture. We're not getting adjusted. We're not doing exercise that's going to strengthen our core. But for every inch that your head moves forward out in front of the spine, well, guess what? That adds 10 pounds of pressure to your spine. And so we're going to do digital postural pictures on you to see what your spine looks like. We're going to address the soft tissue problems. So as you develop that forward posture, we get predictable changes in the spine. We get weak abdominals. We get tight hip flexors. We get what we call no acetol syndrome, where we have no acetol because our glutes really start to disappear because we're not using them, and so our butt gets real flat. So we're going to address this upper and lower cross syndrome, or this forward head posture that most people get in the program. And that's why chiropractic is truly one of the most important things in this program. What you're seeing now is an x-ray of a typical patient that we see on the program, where they start to develop that forward head posture. They lose the normal arc, or what we call the curve of life in the neck, and really start to see degenerative changes in the spine. Dr. Denise is now going to go over the nutritional part of 8 Weeks to Wellness.
So as Dr. Dane said, I want to cover some of the nutritional aspect of the program. And I've tried to keep it really simple. In fact, I've created an acronym for you, and it's called FEWSOB. It literally summarizes all the elements of the nutritional program with the letters FEWSOB. And I made it like that because the healthier you get, the less you're going to cry, or those around you are going to cry. So let's start with the F. F stands for 5 meals a day. Most of you on this program are going to be having 5 meals a day. There's a handful that might go to 6 meals a day, but you're going to be having 5 small meals a day. 2 of them we'll have direct control over, and that's your ultra meal shakes. The doctors will be working with you on picking the shake that works best for you, but your other 3 meals are going to be a carbohydrate, a protein, and a fat, and we'll talk more about that in a second. The E stands for eliminate. So as you know, we're going to eliminate the junk out of your diet. Clearly, we need to eliminate sugar. We're going to teach you how to read food labels. If a label has more than 2 or 3 ingredients in it, probably we don't want it in your body. So we're going to eliminate the bad stuff. We're going to eliminate the processed foods, the trans fats, the sugars, the ingredients that you can't pronounce. And for many of you, we're going to eliminate gluten because that can be particularly tough on the system. So we're going to eliminate the bad stuff. The W stands for water. It's going to become your primary beverage. And so you're going to go to your ideal body weight. You're going to divide that by 2, and that's how many ounces of water you'll have every day. So let's say your ideal body weight is 150 pounds. Then you'll be drinking 75 ounces a day of water. And your doctors and the 8 Weeks to Wellness team, they'll give you some tips on how you can make sure you get that much water in every day. And yes, that means you're going to be going to the bathroom more. And yes, that means that your urine or your pee should look very, very, very pale yellow or clear, all right? The darker your urine, it means that you're dehydrated, so we're going to overcome that. The next letter in our acronym is S, and that stands for size matters. On our program, calories do matter. Now, we're not going to ask you to count calories, but we really want you to control the amount of food that you're consuming. You're going to get plenty of carbs, proteins, and fats, good quality foods. I promise you that other than the first couple days, you will not be hungry on this program. But at the same time, we're not going to let you eat as much as you want. And so on this program, you'll use your hand to determine what portion size is. For a carbohydrate, you're going to use the size of your fist if you're having a complex carbohydrate or a fruit. You'll learn also that vegetables are unlimited. For fat, you're going to use the size of your thumb. And for a piece of protein, you're going to use the size of your palm, same size as your palm and same thickness. So the S is size matters. The O is a new rule that I've created in the last 1 or 2 years, and I love it, and it just stands for one ingredient foods. If you stick to recipes that are just made up of one ingredient that are added together, or you eat foods that only have one ingredient, you really can't go that wrong on 8 Weeks to Wellness. For example, broccoli, one ingredient, apple, one ingredient, walnuts, one ingredient, coconut oil, Greek yogurt, black beans, green beans. Now, for some of you, you might be following a specific paleo program. Your doctors will let you know if you're doing that, and they might pull some of the ingredients on a paleo diet. For example, beans and dairy will not be permitted. But overall, one ingredient foods is a great rule that's going to work for you. And then lastly, the B stands for balance your macronutrients. Now, I've already talked about this a little bit, but again, on the program, you're going to be having 5 small meals a day. 2 of them will be your meal replacement shake called Ultra Meal. And the other 3 meals will consist of a carbohydrate, a protein, and a fat. Now, I already went over the size using your hand, but another really easy way to remember it is 3-2-1 or 30-20-10. Ideally, you're getting about 30 grams of carbohydrates or less. You're getting at least 20 grams of protein or more, and we're going to try to keep it to around 10 grams of fat. So that's not a hard and fast rule. We don't expect you to count all of these numbers, but all the recipes in our 8 Weeks to Wellness manual follow that guideline. So 3-2-1. So FEWSOB, that's the rules of 8 Weeks to Wellness.
So you're also going to be doing, as Dr. Denise said, the 2 supplements from a premier company that only works with doctors. And I think this is important because a lot of you out there have your own supplements. But with 8 Weeks to Wellness, we're going to control 2 supplements that we think are critical to the program. Your meal replacement shake. Now, the doctor is going to select the level of Ultra Meal right for you. And then also your omega-3 fats. And it's a pure, ultra potent fish oil. You're going to do at least 1 gram a day. The doctor may also recommend some supplements based on your lab work that you need. For example, if your vitamin D is very low, the doctor's probably going to put you on vitamin D. If you're a diabetic or pre-diabetic, we're probably going to put you on something that's going to improve your insulin regulation, insulin sensitivity. So the doctor will work with you on this. But there are guidelines, Dr. Denise, for the nutritional program. Number 1, you want to plan your meals, right? I think it's important, Dr. Denise, we always say if you fail to plan,
you plan to fail.
Right, and that's a hard, fast rule. I'm actually doing the program right now. One of the things I really enjoy is planning in my manual. It's like a checkoff list. Did I do this? Where am I going to be when I need my Ultra Meal? Where and what type of exercise am I doing today? Did I do my 10 minutes of meditation?
And with the planning, a great way to do it is the manual. It's very important that you write in it. And there's something about recording something that you're going to get better results. But a great way to do it is plan out your entire day, plan out your entire meal. And ideally, at the end of the day, you don't have to change anything that you wrote down. You might, maybe a different recipe you used, or you didn't exercise that day, you thought you were going to, you moved it to the next day. But at the start of the day or the night before, plan the entire day out. You'll be amazed at how much you'll stick to that plan.
So plan your meals, plan your day. Eat 5 meals a day. Like Dr. Denise said, it's size matters. You're going to do the 30-20-10 per meal, 30 grams of carbohydrate, 20 grams of protein, 10 grams of fat. You're going to do 2 of those meals are going to be your Ultra Meal shake. A meal is going to consist of a protein, a carbohydrate, and a fat every time. One of the big problems in this country, we eat way too many carbohydrates for breakfast and no really good protein or good fats for our breakfast. During the first week of the program, you're going to eliminate all carbohydrates, all sugars, except for the carbohydrates in your Ultra Meal, and low glycemic index vegetables, and that'll be stipulated in your manual. But week 1, the body always burns sugar first, It then burns fat and then protein. So when we take the carbohydrates or the sugar out of your diet, we get into some major fat burning, and that's where we see most of the people lose the majority of their weight.
Yes, so just a reminder, and again, this is all written in your manual. We want you to make sure you're reading through that manual. The first week, you'll get to pick a protein, you'll get to pick a fat, and your carbohydrate choice will be low glycemic index vegetables. And your choices of carbs, proteins, and fats are written in your manual. There's also a page in your manual that lists all your low glycemic index vegetables that you can choose from in that first week.
As Dr. Denise said, you're using your hand for guide. And the thing we love about your hand, it'll be with you all the time. No scales, no counting. You're going to use your hand for that portion control. You're going to drink water every day. And Dr. Denise said, but the concept with water is out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
If you constantly have your water bottle with you, it's very easy to get up and drink 8 ounces. Drink 8 ounces in the car on the way to work. Drink another 20 ounces at work, another 8 ounces, another 16 ounces between the time you get home and the time you go to bed, and boom, you have your 75 ounces of water. So we want you drinking water, using it as your primary beverage. We also want you to rediscover your kitchen and your cookbooks. This is huge. We've partnered with Michelle Keys from the Keys Ingredients to provide some awesome 8 Weeks to Wellness approved recipes. So, as a man, I love actually to cook with my wife. It's some special time that we can share together on Sundays to prepare for our week. So we cook together, we spend a couple hours preparing, and it's actually a very nice time for the two of us to spend some time together. This is not rocket science. These are recipes that are tried, they're tested, and they're delicious. So please look at the recipes in your manual.
And in the manual, in your appendix, we have a list of approved recipes for week 1, week 2. So we have a lot of patients that literally just stick to that guideline. If you stick to those recipes and the ones that we map out for weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, you simply can't go wrong. And the recipes are absolutely delicious. I just had a patient last night telling me how much he loved the cauliflower pizza. So let's talk about some common addictions, caffeine and alcohol. On our program, you can have caffeine. We want you to keep that to 2 cups per day. And with regards to alcohol, it might be a challenge for you, but we're asking you to completely eliminate alcohol weeks 1 through 4. Dane and I are Irish. We love a good beer or a glass of wine, but alcohol can sidetrack us. And so beginning in week 5, you can have your alcohol. We ask you that you keep it to twice per week, no more than 2 alcoholic beverages at those 2 times. So we call that rule 2 and 2. So you'll never have more than 4 drinks per week. And we want those to be normal size alcoholic beverages. So just because you can fit a half a bottle of wine in your glass doesn't mean that that's a normal serving.
That doesn't count as one?
That doesn't count as one.
You mean the 40-ounce coffee from Starbucks, the venti doesn't count as 1 cup of coffee?
It sure doesn't. And the other thing, just to remind you, as far as your complex carbohydrates, again, some of the doctors are paleo, so you're not going to be doing any gluten at all. But on our program, just to remind you, the first week, your carbohydrate is vegetables only. Week 2, we add back in legumes or beans and fruit. And then week 3 is when you can add back that complex carbohydrate or that grain. Some of you might be feeling so great, then we encourage you don't add the grains back. But when you add the grains back, if you choose to, we want you to keep them earlier in the day. That would be for breakfast or lunch before 2 o'clock, and try to keep it just 2, maybe 3 times per week.
So we've talked about taking calories in. Let's talk about how we're going to burn calories, and that's a critical facet. The functional fitness portion of this program is phenomenal. It's one of my favorite parts. It's very unique to 8 Weeks to Wellness. Most people don't understand that, there's some common myths. For example, a woman will tell me, I don't want to exercise because I don't want to get bulky. But in the graphic that you're seeing on the screen, you'll see that fat by volume actually takes up twice as much room as lean muscle tissue. So they already are bulky if they have too much fat on their body. What they want to get is lean.
Right.
And the way you get lean is by putting muscle on your body. The other thing, Dr. Denise, is muscle burns 7 times more calories at rest compared to body fat. So when you have a lot of lean muscle, you are a fat burning machine.
Right.
Your resting metabolic rate is high. Your thyroid is really, really smoking because guess what? It's trying to maintain all this muscle mass. It's got to increase its metabolism. It's not going to be sluggish anymore. So the exercise is critical on this program. As a matter of fact, research shows that 30 minutes of exercise a day can decrease cancer by 50%, which is just absolutely phenomenal. The other thing we want you to realize is that no decline with age is as dangerous as the decline in lean body mass. So as you age and lose this precious muscle tissue, your posture starts to go, your core starts to get weak, your metabolism starts to slow down. You can't move and function and squat anymore. And I always hear the patients that come in and say, you know what, my doctor says I can't squat anymore because I have bad knees. Well, it's actually you have bad knees because you haven't learned to squat and you haven't been doing it all your life.
Yes.
So we're going to teach you about functional movement. The 3 elements to the exercise program is number 1, cardiovascular. We're going to provide you with a heart rate monitor, a really nice heart rate monitor in your wellness kit. We're going to teach you how to use it. But the reason we want you to have that heart rate monitor is for what we call perceived exertion. We want to know where that heart rate is, and we want to get that heart rate up and down because the heart doesn't work at one level efficiently.
Right.
It works when we're ramping the heart rate up and down and up and down. We'll do that in 20-minute cycles throughout the course of this exercise program. The second thing that we're going to focus on is what is really unique to 8 Weeks to Wellness, and that's the mobility and what we call the postural prep part of your exercise. We'll do this before the strength training, and this is all about mobility. It's about getting the spine, the hips, the knees flexible so that when we put the weights on or we use your body as a weight to do squats, lunges, shoulder presses, some of the exercises, you actually can move your joints because your muscles are now all warmed up. And so very specific part of the program. And finally, the strength training portion, we're going to now put muscle on your body. So if we broke it down into 3 sections, it would be an hour workout that consists of 20 minutes of high-intensity interval training, 20 minutes of postural work and mobility work, and 20 minutes of what we call strength training WOD, workout of the day. We're going to have a workout that focuses on the major muscle groups to put muscle back on the body, and that's the exercise portion of the program.
Now, you'll be exercising in our offices 2 to 3 times per week based on the doctor's recommendation. And then outside of the office, if weight loss is truly a goal, then you're going to be doing your interval training cardio that the trainers will teach you how to do, preferably first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. First thing in the morning on an empty stomach, it's when you have no sugar stored at all and you're going to become a fat burning machine. When you go to your 8 Weeks to Wellness office for your exercise session with the trainer, please make sure that you've had an ultra meal shake or that you've had one of your approved 8 Weeks to Wellness meals, because you're going to be in there for a long time. That would not be the time to have an empty stomach.
And some of our centers have subcontracted with personal training, so it may not be done in the office.
Perfect.
But it may be done with a personal trainer that's affiliated with the 8 Weeks to Wellness Center.
Terrific.
We also want to talk about massage, Dr. Denise. And you know, you and I always like to joke around, but we can't imagine there's somebody out there that doesn't like massage.
Right.
You know, the fact of the matter is, guys, we're human beings, and research shows that we require as human beings 14 hugs, or what we call affectionate touches, because we're human beings. Right. And touch is an important part of being a human being and a part of healing. So massage is a critical part of the program. We want people to communicate with their massage therapist. So the doctor will be communicating with your massage therapist. If you have a lower back issue, if you have scar tissue somewhere from an old injury, we'll be focusing on those tight muscles, on those fibrotic muscles, so that we get that muscle moving and flowing again. So we always like to say that, you know, massage is not a luxury.
Yeah.
It is absolutely a necessity on this program.
Absolutely.
The other thing we want to talk about is mindfulness. And Dr. Denise, you know, you and I didn't grow up in a family where meditation was valued, and spirituality was of high priority. It's something that you and I had to learn, but we place a lot of importance on spirituality, on mindfulness in this program, because we know that the average human being has 60,000 thoughts a day. But what they may not know is the majority of those thoughts, research shows, are negative.
Yes.
And we always like to tell you, even though you're having 60,000 thoughts a day, most people aren't aware of those thoughts, right? They're being controlled by their environment. Their thoughts are being controlled by what happens in their environment, their relationships, their job, their stress. And so the environment forces you to think instead of stopping and really selecting the thoughts that are going to most benefit you and your health. So meditation is a way to stop, become aware of what I'm thinking about, and ask this question, does it serve me? And I love the concept of mindfulness. And you always talk about, Dr. Denise, maybe you want to talk about mindful versus mindful.
Yes, one is you have too many thoughts on your mind, and one is being aware of your thoughts. One of my favorite quotes on this is Marianne Williamson. She says that we are entirely too tolerant of mind wandering. And we let our thoughts get the best of us. So the power of meditation is huge. It's one of the most underutilized parts of this program. And I'm going to say perhaps the most important, because until you get this right, this isn't going to change. So on our program, we have 6 meditation tracks that are available to you. Very simple. You're going to go to our website, 8ww.com. You're going to click on resources. The password is 8ww, and right there are 6 meditation tracks that you can access through your smartphone. You're able to download them. We also have some audiovisual meditation tracks to watch. They're fantastic. None last more than 12 minutes, and I literally am going to beg you to do your meditation every day. Please don't think this isn't an important aspect of the program.
And so, in leaving you with what I think is everybody's ultimate goal, that is happiness. And I have to tell you, at this point in my life, there's not too many days I don't wake up with a big smile on my face. And I know there was a time in my life where I couldn't honestly say that. And I've recognized from a lot of reading that I've done on this subject that truly happiness, when you study it, it doesn't come from how much money you have. It doesn't come from your gender. Women aren't more happy than men. It doesn't come from what part of the country you live. The one statistic that is researched and tried and true that all happiness hinges on is service.
That's right.
And so if you can serve outside your own needs and you have a talent that you can serve with, like if you're a teacher, that's a talent that you're going to serve with. If you're an artist, you can share your art with people. If you have a beautiful voice, if you're a wonderful video person and you can create art for people, those are talents and we want to share those. The thing I like to tell people, Dr. Denise, is when we're healthy, we can serve out of abundance. Because when we're not healthy, we don't feel good, who are we thinking about the most?
Ourselves.
We're thinking about ourselves because we don't feel good. So it's really, really important that you understand that happiness comes from service and service comes from energy. When you're healthy, you have great energy.
So let's talk about a common stumbling block, and that is time commitment. How much time is 8 weeks going to take? In a given week, there's 168 hours. We're usually awake about 115 hours per week. 8 Weeks to Wellness is going to take approximately 5% of your time. That's about 6 hours per week. And I can't think of anything more valuable to invest in than your health. So you may have to look at your schedule. There's simple things that you can stop doing. You can stop watching television. You can stop going on Facebook so much. And so if you're struggling with the time commitment, just sit down with the 8 Weeks to Wellness liaison or the doctor to figure out how you can free up more time. But on a whole, this program will take about 6 hours per week.
Another common obstacle for people is money. Let's face it, we're all on a budget. Most of us are on a budget. We don't have free money to just give out. And so when you look at the program, it is a financial investment.
Yes.
But I always like to say, Dr. Denise, if next week, let's say you were diagnosed with cancer and you had to go through chemo and your insurance company only covered 70%, and you were going to have to get this chemo and it was going to cost you out of pocket $10,000, you would find the money somewhere to save your life or to save your spouse's life. How about never getting cancer in the first place?
Yes.
Right? And how about how much money that's going to save you in the long term, never having a chronic disease and living to your full potential, not dying young or suffering in old age on 3, 4, 5, 6 medications where you don't know your name, you can't move properly, and you're not enjoying the end of your life. So it is an investment, but I truly believe that things that matter most should never be at the mercy of things that matter least. And you have to ask yourself, does your health matter? And if it does, I think it's worth investing in it. On the screen right now is what you're seeing is our commitment form. And it's in our manual. We have a commitment form. It's one page. I always like to say it's one page. There's not that many things on it, but we want you to commit to the program. We know the people that commit do the best. And we also recommend that you sign that commitment form, tear it out of your book and put it on your refrigerator. Give it to somebody like your spouse who's going to hold you accountable to doing those things on the program. So in the final analysis, your health is a continuum. It's a continuum between optimal health and chronic disease and ultimately death. And we know where you fall on that continuum has everything to do with the way you're living your life, the way you're eating, the way you're moving, the way you're thinking, the way you're managing stress, your level of happiness, the type of exercise that you're doing. And so we want you moving to the right side of this continuum, towards health, not away from it. We find that most people are sprinting towards chronic disease and illness. And the way that we stop this and turn it around is by doing 8 Weeks to Wellness and really gaining momentum by the end of the program, where we're now rapidly, instead of moving to the left side towards chronic disease and death and disability, we're actually moving towards better health and better function.
And the question you want to ask yourself is, why do you want to move to the right side of that continuum? You know, in the past several minutes, we've gone over the hows of the program, the whats of the program. But at the end of the day, honestly, the most important thing about 8 Weeks to Wellness is, why do you want to do it? At the start of your manual, in fact, you're going to write down your 5 whys. And we always say that if you don't have a strong enough why, you're not going to comply. Your why can't be because I want to lose 20 pounds for my third cousin's wedding. Your why ideally isn't dated for something in the next few weeks or months. Your why has to be something that you're committed to long term. It could be your children. It could be your purpose. It could be what you do for a living. It could be your hobby. Recently, my mother-in-law passed away at 82 years old, and I would love to tell you that it was a blissful, long life. In the last 15 years of her life, she really suffered right up through assisted living and dementia care. So one of my whys is, I don't want to put my children through that. And everything that I do today matters as far as my health down the road. So have really strong whys, think about them, write those down, and please look at those each and every morning, each and every evening. If you tie a strong why to this program, I know that you're going to be successful.
So we'd like to thank you for joining us. We hope that you've taken a look at your manual. By now, your manual contains all of these resources that we've talked about and more. It's very important to read that manual, preferably with a highlighter. I like to read with highlighter to highlight the things that I think are important, but please go through that manual. There are some really important things in there, and we also want you to pay attention to your log in the back. We've talked about it, but again, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Make sure you're filling out that log, bringing it to your doctor's office on your visit so that he or she can go over that with you. And we want to thank you for spending the time with us. And we always like to say, give us 8 weeks.
And we'll change the rest of your life.